Welcome everybody. If you'll all please be seated, we're going to begin. Welcome everybody. Welcome to tonight's regular council meeting. We'll begin with the question period. If there are any questions, please come up to the microphone as it's being live streamed and you won't be able to hear otherwise. Yeah, please.
This is my first meeting.
Give your name, please.
Ava Schlisser.
Address?
11 Cleve. I live at a very busy intersection. I'm at the corner home. And for a very long time, for about 4 years now, I've noticed that this corner is very dangerous, that there are cars whipping around this corner. And I've asked repeatedly to Captain Roberts. I've been in touch with security and I call them often, and I've asked them to put some kind of measure to slow down the traffic. I have two very small children, and 4 years ago, 2020, we were home a lot, obviously, and all these cars, they're coming at their usual whipping around speed, and my kids were in the backyard. I have a big backyard because I'm at the corner, and my son, who was 4 at the time, is coming out in his underwear, around, and goes into the front of my home. And their cars, and he's almost in the street, and the cars I come out and I see, and the cars are driving by like crazy. I got so scared. I said, okay, I got to figure something out. Because I don't have a fence, I don't have anything stopping, So anyway, so I then proceeded to figure a way to protect my children, and looked into getting a permit or some kind of barrier or something, and that's when I was in touch with Captain Roberts. Can you please put a speed bump? Can you please put a cop car? Can you please put something? Anyway, he answered me. I have all the emails and everything. Nothing was done. I decided that I had no choice. I couldn't wait for a tragedy. I put up a fence. And the fence obviously doesn't have a permit. Part of it is on the city of Hampstead, okay? But this way it protects my children. And so now 4 years later, I get this bailiff to my house telling me to take down the fence because it's on the property. So I called urban planning. I told him the story, and he told me, well, you need a new certificate of location. Okay, fine. So we'll do a minor exemption for this situation. So I call the land surveyor who did my house previously. He came, he did it. $1,400 later, a couple of weeks later, I sent him all the paperwork. He said we were going to submit it to the committee. I get a call a week later. He says, oh, sorry, we cannot present this to the committee. The answer is no, you have to take it down. I said, that's totally unfair. You made me do a certificate of location, including the fence. Now you're telling me to take it down. So it's not even valid anymore. And plus, you don't even bring it to the committee. How is that fair? I wanted to have given a chance to at least present it, and it's, I have the pictures and to show it, and, I just want some grace. I just thought that it was so cruel of him to say no, and my kids are still young, they're still little, and it's still a danger because their cars are still coming around so quickly. So this is a real issue for me.
I appreciate you bringing this to my attention. We take speeding in our town very seriously. It's our number one threat to our safety and security. Every spring, so around now, once the snow starts to melt and the ground is clear, we put up a lot of speed reduction devices throughout the town. We will take special mention of special measures on Cleve 11. Councillor Goldwax, can I ask you to take care of that, please? With regards to the minor exemption in your fence, I don't know anything about that, but I will ask Councillor Budning, who's our chair of the PAC, to make sure that it gets looked at by the Planning Advisory Committee. This is the first I hear about it, but we'll definitely take a look at it.
Thank you.
Sure.
Appreciate that. Thank you.
Good evening, everybody.
I like your shirt.
So do I. It's getting a lot of use to back to. You know?
Amen.
It's getting there, okay. I know I speak for many, because when I say we are really deeply appreciative of your outstanding leadership over and above your role as mayor during this very tumultuous and anti-Semitic times. I did go to the agglomeration committee, and Mayor Plante had the unmitigated gall and arrogance to refuse to answer my questions in relation to conduct at her meetings, her indifference to protecting the Jewish community, her refusal to fire Bonet, and her indifference to treat a sitting mayor with respect. We as cities are paying a lot of money, kills me, to the agglomeration committee. We are getting very few services, and Mayor Plante refuses to deliver even on the promises she's made, like the Cavendish extension. Cannot the cities get together? I need some leadership here. We'll get this. And really either withhold the money till we can get services done, and put the money into a trust fund. So we're not stealing her money, but why are we paying out all this money when we really are getting bupkis, like next to nothing? And I need your help while I'm here, is because I need you to get to Côte St. Luc and other cities, who some are even suing already, and maybe we could back them, because enough is enough.
So, thank you for the question. I agree with you. And the compliment. It's very kind of you. You've humbled me. All of the 16 demerged municipalities agree with the sentiment. Last year, we had a private meeting of the mayors of the demerged municipalities, and I proposed something similar to what you were saying. I said, if one of us refuses to pay the agglomeration fees, then we'll immediately be put under provincial trusteeship. We can't do it. However, I said, if all 16 of us do it simultaneously, and we just refuse to pay the absurd increase in the agglomeration fee, the province of Quebec would not have the administrative capacity to put 16 demerged municipalities under trusteeship. It would create a crisis. So there were some mayors that liked the idea. There were some that I guess didn't have the. So what we've seen in the past 2 months is, I guess, some kind of resurgence for that passion. For the first time that I've been at the agglomeration council meetings, the last meeting or 2 meetings ago was the first one in January, where we are now vocally voting against it. Now, it is, on the surface it's meaningless, because the demerged municipalities, you've been to the agglomeration meeting, but it's a bit of a misnomer when you see it as 16 mayors on one side and the other mayors and councillors on the other side. It looks like the room is split, but in reality they hold 88% of the vote to our 12%. So we don't even need to show up for quorum. It is a problem, and we are constantly trying to strategize on how to navigate through it, because it's a problem. It's a provincial law. We're just trying to figure out how to navigate through it, because it is an unfair system. It's taxation without representation. We are paying, for the first time ever last year, we're paying more than 51% in Hampstead towards agglomeration fees, and we're fed up with it. It's very disappointing. And what makes it more disappointing is I just found out that, let's say there is a shared cost. Let's call it a truck, let's say a truck for $500,000, which is used 2% of the time for demerged municipalities and 98% for the City of Montreal. Well, then 100% of it gets allocated to the agglomeration, and then it gets split up. And that's where you have that disproportionate expense. Now, to the City of Montreal's argument, they're just playing in accordance within their rules, right? They're allowed to do this, so they do it. But it is unfair. I have recommended to the lawyers that we go to the courts to get interpretation on specific formulas and how they're applied. It's a slow process. The beauty about this council is that we work quickly. We're agile and we move things fast. The problem is when you're dealing with a much larger group and the emerging municipalities represents 250,000 people, things move slower. That's the bureaucracy we have in Quebec. So we are moving in that direction. We're pushing. I think we're all on the same page. But it's just a matter of other mayors getting there quicker than others.
Are you in touch at all with Steve?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because, there's him, there's Alan, D'Souza.
Well, so Mayor D'Souza is part of Ville Saint-Laurent. He's not a demerged municipality. Ville Saint-Laurent is part of Montreal proper.
Okay, that's right.
Yeah.
Anyway, I appreciate all you're doing, but I really think we're being so ripped off, if I could use that.
We all agree with you, and whenever we pass our resolutions to pay the amounts, we always pay it under protest. So we do agree with you.
Thank you for your leadership again.
Thank you so much. Any other questions?
My name is Alan Cole from 20 Glenmore, and I just want to say thank you to yourself, your staff, the councillors. We moved here 14 years ago, and we couldn't be happier with the municipality. It was the best decision we ever made, and I know it's not by accident that it's as fine a place to live as we have here. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you. We all appreciate it.
And I also have to apologize. This is the first time I'm attending a city hall meeting of any kind, because I'm not a complainer and I don't intend to complain. But I'm not sure what the protocol is, because the question that I have regards some of the exemptions on 6201 Côte Saint Luc Road. Is this the time, or do I?
Sure.
Well, it's very simple, my question. There's going to be 42 units in the building. There's going to be 23 parking spaces. So assuming each unit has one car, which is well below the Canadian average of 2 cars per household, there's 19 cars looking for a parking spot. So my question is, where are you going to put them?
It's a great question.
And if there are 2 cars per unit, that's 38. We got a bigger problem. So I want to hear what
It's a great question. I'm happy to
your solution
I
is.
imagine the majority of you are here for that. Okay. So here's the issue, or the matter with 6201 Côte Saint Luc Road. So it currently has, I believe, 26 units, and the developer, who is here and graciously enough to come to answer anyone's questions, is going to be adding 16 additional units. Okay, so there's no exemption on the height. We're not looking to change the look of Hampstead. In this process, my biggest concern, as with I'm sure your biggest concern, is parking, right? Because we see that there's no shortage of cars. In doing this process, it came to our attention that the existing zoning bylaws only required 1 parking spot for every 2 units. It was like that historically. As soon as I found that out, I thought that was odd. I requested to council, and council approved, to change it to 1 parking unit per 1 parking spot per apartment unit. Regardless of whether we made that change, there would still need to have been a minor exemption request on the number of parking spots, because even if we didn't make that change, there still wouldn't be at least 1 parking spot for every 2 units on the new proposed development. I have, and I said this at several council meetings, this is not the first time that this has come up. I have said it many times at these meetings. I've expressed it to the developer, I've expressed it to council. I do not want to see Glenmore or any other street turn into a parking lot. I think that'll drastically change the look of the town, and it's also a safety and security concern, especially around parks where kids normally frequent and play. That was a big deal to me. So one of the solutions that we came up with was to create a two-zone system for parking in Hampstead. What that means now is if you, sir, want to have a permit for overnight parking, you can go on your My Hampstead portal, apply for a parking permit for your car, and between 2 and 5, you can park on the street, no problem. Anywhere in Hampstead, I believe, right? Anywhere in Hampstead, yeah. Now, the issue is going to be with Coates and Luke Road, and this is just one project, but over the next 10, 15, 20 years, we might see some more developments, and we don't want Hampstead to turn into Côte de Neige, where it's a parking lot, right? I think it's a great asset that we have. So what we proposed was turning it into a two-zone system. Anyone who lives in an apartment building all along Côtes and Luke Road will now be required to have a separate overnight parking permit zone that they cannot, they won't be able to apply for the same parking permit that a Hampstead resident in the interior of Hampstead would be able to apply for. And this zone will limit where they can park in Hampstead. So what we're discussing is, if you look at all of the cross streets off of Côtes and Luke Road, so we have like Glenmore, Ellerdale, Heath, Stratford, the parking will be limited to, let's say, the first 5 or 6 parking spots turning off of Côtes and Luke Road. So it's not going to go all the way down. Yeah, and it's going to alternate sides so that you don't have somebody leaving their car on the street for all week. With this, we're not, Glenmore will not turn into a parking lot, right? You're not going to have, now, I say it won't turn into a parking lot overnight, right? Because this is only going to be for the parking permit only applies for overnight parking. We can't do it for daytime, because if we would do it for daytime, the problem would be if you guys had guests over during the day and we restricted the parking on Glenmore, then your guests would not be able to park on the street. Neither would you if you didn't have a parking permit. Sorry? Right. So yeah, well, I mean, it's from a practical point of view. I don't see how they would park there during the day and then not at night, right? Like, it's not like they have somewhere to put their car at night, but they don't during the day. So we are going to severely restrict their capability of where they're going to park. If they have to find alternate parking in the city of Montreal or indoor parking lots, whatever, but we're not going to allow for Glenmore to be or any other street to turn into a parking lot.
On the weekend.
It's the same thing.
So on the weekend, basically, they can park 40 cars on
Not at night.
Not at
No,
night.
no.
But you only get the free parking zones. When they still get a separate zone?
Friday night is.
One night you can park on the street to show up, and Jewish only.
So Friday night till Saturday, they can park all the way 40 cars on.
No, because we can adjust the signage there that says that the parking in this zone, Friday night, is only valid for permit holders.
No, but that defeats the whole purpose of having the Friday night parking.
No, in the 6 spots,
No, I understand, but the question was, beyond the 6 spots, they'll be able to park there from, let's say, Friday morning until Saturday night.
The biggest concern is how do we avoid all of Glenmore getting packed with cars? That's the biggest concern.
Now, I agree, and that was our biggest concern. This is our way of navigating through it.
That house is already full with cars, that's not gonna change for him. His house will always have cars parked in front of it, we've accepted it, we're good with it. The question is, all the others on Glenmore are now gonna be impacted, so what do we do?
It's going to be 30 or 40 extra cars every single day on Glenmore. And another question, what's happening the winter when they have to clear the snow? If more cars, how can they clean it?
So it's the same thing we do on Dufferin. We put up special signage that, between, on this particular day, you can't park here because there's a snowstorm between the hours of 7 and 7, and it has to be cleared. So on the snow, we put up the temporary signage. Yeah.
see one car.
You can't park in both sides of the street, I'm sorry.
I apologize. I live on 18 Glenmore, right behind Allen here. And 14 years as well. Whenever there's a car parked in front of my house, there's a good chance when the garbage people come by, you can say against Hampstead, although it's
Subcontractor.
exactly. They just figure, well, I'll go around, we'll come back later or whatever. They just don't, so they miss the garbage.
Excuse me, sir, can you come up to the microphone because some people can't hear you? Thank you very much. Okay, sir?
Yep, no
Okay,
problem.
sir? Is that okay?
Can you hear me now? It's good? All right. Wow, pretty cool. So very often I find that when cars are parked on the street in front of the house during garbage collection, and that includes, recycling and compost, and so there's basically 3 collections, they get annoyed by that, and they want to keep running, and they don't want to stop, and they just go around it, and they forget about it or whatever. And I've called the city before, and they say, you've got 24 hours to notify us. Well, you come home from work, you don't know that they've messed up, You get a lot of people have housekeepers and stuff. They bring their garbage in. You don't know, and then you go to lift up the lid and you see it's full, or whatever. So it's a nuisance to have cars parked there. All the time.
I agree. Just so there's no confusion, there's no opposition to these comments. Like, these are all legitimate, bona fide comments, and this was my primary concern.
It also creates vandalism. Just as a side note, my son's car, since there's been like an increase in cars on the street, got his car broken into. Car got broken into, got the windows broken in, and they stole nothing, broke the windows. So, and I think that's not the only car on the street. So that's another thing that we have to do. So I think we have to look at it and say, the less cars, the solution for the night for me, I think is good. I think we have to find a solution for the day.
Well, today, if I may, you can't park in both sides of the street. It's either on west side or the east side. So that's clear.
Right, it's impossible
Question
to
is-
park on both anyways, that's the
Right,
first
right,
step.
you can, absolutely, that's the reason. The question is that now,
The traffic will be
somebody brought up is, the question is over the weekend.
Why don't you just, for the apartment buildings, not allow them to take more than the 10 free parking passes you get a year,
Constantly.
going into Hampstead, and not allow them, even inclusive of Friday nights, just for the apartment buildings.
So the issue now is during the day, right? During the day, nobody needs a parking permit. But that's the opposition to this. That they don't want to.
Force them on the other side, force them to 10 G.
Exactly.
How would you force them during the
Give
day?
them a permit for Hampstead.
No, but what I'm saying is during the day, nobody needs a parking permit during the day. If you have a friend come over, park in front of your house, they don't have a parking permit. How do you differentiate between your car and somebody's own?
But if you're not
That's the issue.
at night, you're gonna naturally start looking elsewhere, because you have to move your car.
That's what we thought. That's the idea.
At night is fine, because at night we're forcing them onto the other streets. It's more, come the Friday night when everybody's allowed to park, and the Saturday when everybody's allowed to park, and the Sunday, what's happening when now all of a sudden you're gonna have 40 cars lined up.
I know buildings are close to the road, there's a lot of them.
Yeah.
We don't have a massive problem with people parking Hampstead right now, it's not gonna be 30 inches.
No, but I'll tell you what the difference is with the existing apartment buildings. I mean, I would imagine that the new apartment building is going to be priced significantly higher than the other buildings that are 50, 60 years old, and it might attract a different tenant that has a car or two. That's not my point. There could be more cars, is what I'm saying, right? Like, because you have a higher likelihood of having more tenants that have more cars, and that's why we changed our bylaw to begin with on all these new developments, to change the zoning from one parking spot to every 2 units to 1 to 1.
Because I want to tell you, when they put up Charles IT building of the Jewish, it was a donated building. To this day, the biggest mistake is they did not put underground garage.
So this would be a question for the developer and Mr. Ayres. If you'd like to address any of these comments, please feel free.
Everybody
What do you mean a notice?
Like none of us got an email, or none of us got a flyer, like nobody got notified of this change. of
It's
this-
a meeting.
You know, we only knew about it and contacted you because he's the only one on the street that got a flyer about it. Otherwise, nobody knew.
Probably because it probably, okay, but you probably are the adjoining, okay. So that's the reason why you got it. But this has been publicized, it's publicized in our newsletters. We've talked about this countless times at the council meetings. But I'm very happy that you're all here. And, I even wanted to go even further and, depending on how this went, then maybe make a separate information session just on this. But, rest assured, nothing has been done yet. Nothing has been voted. This has been a long process to get here, but no decision has been made yet. So you're not late to anything.
I don't know if this is the appropriate moment, but I'm referring to this new building. We live in the cornership next to this building, Holtham Hall, and so here there's supposed to be like on the left side a setback, but that's going to affect this whole side of our building where we're going to have these windows much closer to us. I mean, right now there's very little space between the two buildings.
Yeah, it's the setback for the exterior parking, I believe.
The wall won't be moving further?
No, the foot.
She's talking about something totally different. Frontwards, forward, supposed to look not the same.
Yeah,
So what do you mean by to allow, let's see, in the left side yard, a setback of 4
so that's probably for parking. Is it for parking, Mario? Exterior? No, it's. Oh, it's to legalize an existing situation. So that the building, as it currently stands, is not in conformity with the zoning bylaws. And what happens many times, a lot of houses are not in conformity with zoning bylaws. So we legalize it by way of minor exemption. So this is to legalize an existing situation.
Oh, so
it
it's
doesn't
going
change
back,
anything. No,
not
it doesn't
further.
change anything.
Oh, it doesn't change?
It just legalizes what's currently there.
Okay, so that wall will stay at that distance
Correct.
from our building?
Correct.
Okay.
Okay. So, Mr. Erez.
Good evening, everyone. So first off, thank you, and I think that I need to, Jeremy, thanks because you explained it, but I'll explain a little bit more. Currently, there's 26 units and only 7 parking spots. So we're adding 16 more apartments in the current structure and adding 16 more parking spots. So for your mathematical understanding, 1 more unit, 1 more parking spot. So in terms of that, in general, I mean, you might think that 2, but in general, it's 1 car to an apartment. So we're not adding any more. It was built of this format, so right now, even if I don't add any more apartments, you would have only 7 parking spots for 26. So that's number 1. Number 2 is we've done somersaults backwards, and for me, value in terms of a thing, I would love to have 100 parking spots. It's just not capable. It's even was speaking to the next door neighbors, and because it's not even zoned, I can't even reconfigure their house to do parking. It's not doable. So the only way to do it is in this format, and the city has allowed us to do it from the side for whatever, and we maximized and tried as much as we can, and this is where we're at. What I can tell you is the building is going to be very green, high-tech, and if you do care, I mean, the parking aspect, his rules and his ways is really very well thought of, and I don't think there's any way to achieve more. But in terms of having the corner as is, or having a brand new green modern building, the value of the whole block is going to change, and that's 100%. And whatever I do is I do it at a very high level, and we're trying to bring in high-level people to Hampstead, where obviously if they're spending more, you're going to have a higher kind of Hampstead-like tenant. And, that's what I can tell you, and if you have any questions, please.
How many units are
All of them. You have, pardon me. You have 1 bedrooms, 2 bedrooms, and 3 bedrooms.
23 units, how many of them are more than?
23, no, there's 42 total. 42, and I don't remember the exact breakdown, but I think probably about half are, I would say probably give or take about half are 1 bedrooms, then almost the rest are 2 bedrooms, and we have, I believe, 4 3 bedrooms, but no studios.
You can't go one level below.
No.
Why? That answer makes no sense.
No, it's, you would have to jack the whole building up, and it would be millions of dollars. Even this project as is, mathematically is very much on the cusp with the cost of construction today. And if you're going to go take down the supporting pillars of the building, and trust me, I would love to do it, millions and millions of dollars, and just financially not viable. I would love that, but not doable. Mathematically, it just doesn't work.
Thank you very much. Okay. Any other questions?
So, just a couple. So, when will you get back to us with the solution for the parking? That's number one.
It's a great question.
Because I don't think anybody's complaining about the building. I mean, currently it's disgusting. It'll definitely be beautiful.
I agree.
I have no doubt about that.
I
So
agree.
we're all excited about that. My dad will argue that he just saw the fact that the building has balconies, which he's freaking out about.
Facing me, on that side there was no balconies whatsoever. That's number one. Number two, 6 cars on the pump, exactly near my bedroom. The distance may be 2.5 meters. Is it allowed by law?
Well, I think currently someone could park there, right?
Sorry? No, nobody parks.
But someone's allowed to. It's a driveway.
It's a driveway.
I don't know. Nobody's ever parked there.
It's not set up in that format. The way we're going to do it is we're going to build trees and like a wall where there's going to be a separation and you're not going to see it.
Oh, okay. You're talking about. I see what you're saying. On the last page. On the last page. The last page. I understand now. Okay, I understand. Yeah, I mean that's something that we could definitely require to put shrubs or trees or whatever, so that you have your privacy there. I mean that's yeah. That. I think the biggest.
But also the cars are below grade, Jeremy. The cars are below grade halfway.
Yeah.
The cars are below grade halfway.
Yeah.
How high can you go on the shrubs? This is the question. Enough to cover balconies.
So. Oh, the balconies. No, it's not. I don't think it'll cover the balconies. But I mean, you can. I mean, if you want to. Yes, please go ahead.
So, if I understand this correctly,
Guys, please. There's somebody at the microphone. Councillor Goldwax.
someday,
Okay.
when
Mr.
I'm
Harris. Guys. Please go ahead.
yeah, if I understand correctly,
Guys, can we
There's going to be.
It's hard to hear.
It's not going to just be this one project. You're going to have a law that says anybody on Côte St. Luc who lives in an apartment, you're going to set rules about permits, correct? That's your intention?
That's correct.
Okay.
So it's
Because
all of the
if
existing.
I move into that apartment and I say, I got to have a place to park, what's going on? I paid a lot of money, I'm a Hampstead resident, I deserve consideration, right? Pardon me? It's a rental, okay. I'm still a Côte St. Luc resident, or I mean a Hampstead resident if I rent, am I not? So,
Right, absolutely.
Okay, right. So I think I'm entitled to a place to park. What will your answer be? Because I'll say there's already 6 spots on Glenmore right now. Can't you go for a 7th or an 8th?
So the answer is, where do we draw that line?
Well, that's it.
6,
And
7,
what
8.
guarantee do we get that that line is going to keep going it passes my house.
The reality is that there are no penalties, and I said this at a caucus meeting that the next mandate, there's an election coming up next November. It could be an entirely different council that chooses to override this rule altogether, and even though the minor exemption gets passed, the zoning could be reversed.
Right.
There is a risk. You're not wrong on that. What we're trying to do is to navigate the balance of how can we get this project through without ruining the look and feel of the town. And for this particular project, it's challenging because we changed the bylaws midway. So even though we changed the bylaws, it was legally done. We're not required to issue the minor exemption. There's two components to a minor exemption. One, the property owner applying for the minor exemption needs to show that by council not approving the minor exemption, they would suffer a serious prejudice. So an example of that would be if there's already an existing building that has been up for 40 years, as I mentioned previously, that is not conforming to the zoning bylaw, that individual would have a hard time selling their house. They would suffer a serious prejudice, and that would be enough for council to approve the minor exemption. The other requirement, or I should say safeguard, is that we cannot issue a minor exemption if it impedes on a neighboring property from enjoying the rights of their own property. So,
see, because I don't see this so much as a minor exemption. That when it affects more than one person, it affects a whole row, a whole street, traffic, these other considerations. That seems more like a major exemption.
So we spoke with legal counsel on this. It still follows within the parameter of minor exemption. We would still be in the purview of denying or approving based on the merits of the minor exemption. It's not a major exemption. I understand the logic behind it.
So how many of us have to be in favor or against it to make a difference?
So honestly, just one person needs to come and say, look, this is going to impede on my enjoyment of my property, and then that, council takes that under serious consideration. We analyze it, and yes, does it actually impede on their enjoyment of the property? Then it puts council in a very tight spot. Whether it's 1 or 5 or 10 or 20, I don't think the volume makes a difference. We'll take the matter under serious consideration, whether it's one person.
Okay, because I think most of the people that have come here tonight are ironically in favor of this beautification going on, right? Because it's going to look nice, but not happy with the end result, right? In terms of parking. Because if you're asking me how my house is going to be affected when I have a whole line of cars parked there, I don't know what a real estate agent's going to say. I don't know if I would choose this area here because it's like a parking lot, right? It's already noisy as it is because we're close to Conseil, and we've got tons of traffic coming through. They've tried all kinds of things over the years to try to resolve Cressy and Hampstead, and people coming in from Fleet and coming in off of Queen Mary, trying to beat a couple of lights so they come down Glenmore. Glenmore turns into like a thoroughfare in the morning and in the evening, right? And then you add on top of that narrowing of the street, because you're talking about adding 6 spots at the entrance into Glenmore off of Côte St. Luc, and right now it's so narrow that there isn't room for 2 cars to pass side by side with the third car parked on the side. So you're going to have 6 cars all along there, so that's going to become a bottleneck, right? Bottlenecks are not really big selling items when people want to resell their homes, right? So
I think, if you permit me to speak for 1 second, I think I completely agree with you, and I think that the majority of council does as well. And, what we've been dealing with the past 2 years is trying to balance the impact that this will have on the neighbors, as well as understanding the impact of a new development on the neighborhood in a positive way. Everybody wants to see this new project go through because it's good for housing, gentrification of housing in a good way, that there's going to be new housing stock available and so forth. At the same time, if the developer can't get the zoning, he can't do the project. And if he doesn't get the project going, then at a certain point, he's not going to be able to do anything but just release it and just keep the existing building the way that it is. So where do we balance it? And I think that's where we're at today, is trying to understand what that impact will be on the neighbors and on the community, while at the same time trying to push forward, new housing stock availability in the community.
I understand your dilemma. I don't have a solution for you. I'm just here to outline,
I appreciate it. Go ahead, Councillor Schaefer. Just into the microphone, please.
What I'd like to know is, right now you live...
Guys, please.
I heard you say you live on Glenmore, right?
Yeah, 18.
How far are you away from Conseil Road?
I'm, so if we go every...
How many houses?
I guess it would be 9 houses, or even less. 8? 6? Okay, six houses. Yeah.
Now, can you tell me right now is there parking on both sides of the street right now on Glenmore? From Conseil Road going north? Or is there parking just on one side?
Yeah, they've zoned it for one side. That's a relatively recent change.
Right now, if there's only parking on one side, on the average day, how many cars do you see parked on the one side of Glenmore on a daily basis?
There's a lot. Yeah.
We're only talking...
I don't know where they come from. I don't know where they go.
We're talking only from Conseil Road
right
down, let's say, 6 car spaces. Are there a lot of cars there, or they're not?
Well, that's hard to gauge because there's work going on there, right? I mean, you got this guy who's got this, yeah.
Because when you come off of Conseil Road, you can't just come, you have to pull over to the side so that somebody else can out.
I mean, it's already a bottleneck now. Right?
So there's cars right now parked on one side of the street from Conseil Road going north?
Correct, yes. Yeah. I mean, some of these people have just accepted it as that's what it is, right? Like they've just said, we're used to it.
If there's only parking on one side of the street, why should there be a bottleneck if there's no parking on the other side?
Because the street's so narrow that you can't pass two.
Just parking on one side?
You can't get 3 cars on the street side by side. It's too narrow. Okay, so one car has to pull over so that another car can pass, as it is right now.
All right, thanks.
Yeah. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Just a quick
Sure.
question. I'm looking at the last picture in the diagram, and there's a row of cars here. Is there no way to put another row, extend it here, extend it there, so that we get 12 or 13?
We looked at that. It doesn't work.
Why?
Just logistically. There's not enough length.
There's no way.
There's not enough area space.
There's no way to fit a few extra cars.
We squeezed in as much as we can. Trust me. When I say this was my primary concern, this was my primary concern.
The 3D images are not actual.
No, I know. But I know the spaces because my dad was a store, so I have an idea of the dimensions. And to me, in my head, I always thought we could easily put another row of cars in there.
So there's a garage.
There is a road, but there isn't one now. Well, there is one right there. And at the end, you're not able to.
Why don't you just cap the number of apartments that you're allowed to build?
Because then the problem is the project
Well, then it shouldn't be put up then, because
It's there already. The building is there. The building is there and is dilapidated.
So the problem is that it keeps a dilapidated building and fills it up with things that are also put there, or renovates it, has a new housing stock.
renovated without disturbing the peace of all of these people. These people have been living there for more than a decade. It doesn't seem fair. And I know these
Look,
half of the time the street is empty, but then on Saturday when it's Shabbat, you have to see the Reform Synagogue fills up the entire street. And I understand that because both sides, people are allowed to park. People always have to go on the side and go around, and it's terrible on the weekends.
Wait.
Like I said, I have little children. We can't go around. It's terrible. Terrible.
What you have to understand is this, that as a councillor just explained to you, Councillor Budding said that you want a renovated building. That costs a lot of money. If you renovate the building and it costs a lot of money, then you have to...
Look, at the same time, respectfully, a property owner has just as much rights as other property owners. So if somebody owns a building on Conseil Road and they want to request a development and adding floors, it's within their right to request it. It's the city's job to balance it and listen to it and figure it out. So it's not about putting a cap. If he has the ability to request that, it's his prerogative to request it. We're here to figure out.
I do.
These projects are going on all over the city. It's not as if
everywhere.
we're moving 16 floors or something that's very common elsewhere. Right here, we're keeping the building at the existing height. It's a very minor change, but
again, as a builder, I just want to say that we do demographic studies, and like, when you rent a building at $2,500 or $3,000 a month, I'm assuming something in that realm, the average income for these units are $150,000 of salary, gross. The idea that everyone's going to have every single unit's going to have 2 cars, it has 1-bedroom units, it's very not probable, right? You're going to have, you have 3-bedroom units with family, you have kids, you're going to have potentially 1 car, 2. They have to support their kids in a 3-bedroom apartment, they're renting it, and they're buying it. So you have to take into gauge the fact that you got everyone saying you want to have a project, but you don't want to have parking.
I don't think anybody's saying we want to, yes, we want to have a project for sure. But again, regarding the parking, we could all assume that it's going to be about, on average, 20 additional parking spots if there are 20.
It's giving you 16 extra parking.
No, but again, so there's going to be 16 new with 16 apartments, but then there's still 20 or 21 apartments that won't have a parking spot. Or how many of them won't have a parking spot?
Altogether, there's going to be 23 parking spots total for the building, and there'll be 42 units.
19. 19. So let's even assume 1 on 1, which is not terrible, but it's still 19 cars that have to go somewhere. That's all we're saying.
You can't park there at night, you can't park there.
I get it, okay, so again, Shabbat, I used to live next to a synagogue, and God forbid, on a Friday and a Saturday, when my father used to visit me, he'd have to park all the way at the end of the street. I just want a simple solution, it's nothing complicated.
So don't build a synagogue for this neighborhood.
Another thing you should excuse me.
And if they're so adamant that they need a parking spot that we don't have it, they're not going to rent it. So a lot of people, older people that don't have a car anymore and are retiring, which is basically a big chunk of what I'm trying to attract, not necessarily have a car.
Exactly.
I do understand the concern, but imagine if you were going to spend, like you said, $2,500, and I can't guarantee them a parking spot. Would you spend that?
The shortage of
A lot of people also, in general, are.
Look, we could speculate all we want in these scenarios.
Yeah, I took a look today. I was just taking a walk where you're going to put those 6 spots. I don't think you'll fit 6, you might fit 5, and then 1 on the other side of the driveway, but we can debate that. Around the other side is Côte St. Luc Road, and you have a bus lane there. Is there any possibility to put parking spots there and have the bus?
We don't know. We don't control the reserved bus, that's the City of Montreal, and the parking on Côte St. Luc Road on both sides belongs to City of Montreal. I don't think
so that's a no starter.
This really will become an issue, like Mr. Harris said, that might only, if the project goes through and gets approved, it might only attract tenants that want to use public transport.
Right. Yeah.
Look, we don't know, and I want to emphasize. I mean, I think by now you can appreciate the dilemma that council is in, and I want to just emphasize this point because I think it's an important point to make, to emphasize the dilemma. Generally speaking, projects go through PAC, the Planning Advisory Committee, and PAC will make a recommendation to council on how we should go about this. PAC did not want to give a recommendation on this particular minor exemption because they see this more as a political issue rather than an architectural and integration program. It's a policy decision. Do we want to allow for additional flow over of parking onto Glenmore and subsequently other streets? It's not a PAC question. It's really a policy question. I will tell you this: all of your comments tonight are very well received. Council will take it under serious consideration in how we go about this. But we will do our best to accommodate the parking situation so that you are not impeded. It's not what we want. It's like Councillor Bunning said, it's a balance. It's a trade-off between give something, get something. Would any other councillors like to make any comments on this? Okay.
I don't know if in all the discussions you mentioned that we've been reviewing and dealing with this for the better part of 6 months. Oh, 2 years. So, it's been 2 years. I thought it was only, it's been literally 6 months in the parking lot.
Time flies.
Yeah, I guess so. I didn't realize it was 2 years. We've been talking about how to accommodate parking. We went back to the It's been, it's gone through many design iterations to try and accommodate the look, the parking, the quantity has changed. We've really beat this thing really hard to try and minimize the impact. And of course, it's hard to, please everyone, it's actually impossible. But you do your best to try and consider everyone's needs.
Thank you, Councilor Farber. Go ahead, Councilor Bundy.
I don't know if it's an appropriate question to ask for today, but Mr. Ayres, just out of curiosity, I haven't asked you. If the zoning doesn't go through, what is the vision for the building?
Then I'll leave the building as is, I'll renovate inside, and I'll have something.
So you will renovate and at least rehabilitate. But you will fill it up. It won't stay a vacant building. You'll have tenants move in there.
Yeah, and it'll look exactly the way it'll look now.
Okay.
That's the trade-off.
Right.
Funds will not be there in order to.
No, I get that.
We get it. It's a numbers game. Yep. Okay. Any other questions?
They never had that and it's exactly facing my house. Is it automatically approved or?
So, don't we have something in our zoning bylaw that this is a separate zoning bylaw? Because I recall we have something in our zoning bylaw that if somebody.
Actually, they are conforming to the bylaw. One of them was
No.
something, and at the back they want to have nice facade, so it is something that adds to the quality of.
I understand, but didn't we about a year ago change our zoning bylaw that if one neighboring property wanted to build a house or add an extension in their back, they can't put a window that. You know what I'm talking about, right?
We have a criteria in the architectural committee, so that we have to make sure that it will not add window when you exceed the facade at the back.
So that doesn't apply to this. Okay. So that answers the question. So it is conforming to the existing bylaw. There's no minor exemption required. The property owner would be within their rights to do this.
So just to be clear on the parking, you'll get back to us all with the plan or what's the?
Yeah, I mean, we have, I guess, the majority of, and there was an email thread that went around. I don't know if you're all on the thread. So maybe we could do this, Captain Roberts. Maybe we can make a sheet, and everybody before you leave can just put your name and your email address, and maybe your phone number on that. And this way, we'll have a mailing list, and we can reach out to you with additional information. Okay. Any other questions? Hi, welcome.
Hi, good evening. So I'm a little confused about, is the existing building going to be completely demolished?
No. It's a major renovation.
A major renovation. So they're just going to, well, what exactly is going to be, well, what is a major renovation then? Just the exterior walls are going to be demolished?
They're not demolishing, they're using the existing foundation and walls of the building.
We'll change the brick, add balconies, change some facade work.
Okay.
The frame, just a major renovation is the same. Just changing material and reconfiguring the inside divisions.
All right. And well, just a question for Mr. Ayres. You mentioned it's going to be very high-tech. So what are the very high-tech features?
I don't know. That would be a question for I'm sure you could speak to him after. I don't know. Hi, welcome.
Hi. I didn't come here for this, but once I'm here. Okay. I'm guessing it's the city of Montreal that changed the lanes on Conseil Road around like Baskin Robbins. So when you're driving east and the sun is in the eyes of the people coming west, they are driving in the wrong lane. And during the rain. It's a disaster waiting to happen. So
They repainted the lines quickly right before the winter months, which you don't paint in that time of year because it all came off.
Yeah.
And there's a lane shift right at the one.
it's very awkward when you get past Ellerdale also. You lose the lane and...
You're 100% right. It's dangerous. I'm sure SPVM is aware of it, but maybe we can bring it to their attention.
Yeah, so I just wanted to mention. Thank you.
Thank you.
One final question. I promise you I'm not going to talk anymore. Hypothetically, the house next door, which is my dad's, if my dad agreed to sell a few feet of land, would we be able to get another row of cars?
Unfortunately not, because it's zoned separately and it doesn't conform to the master plan.
So we can't get a derogation for that?
You can't do a derogation for the master plan.
You can't. Okay.
Any other questions? Okay, so let's move on. Sir, we're in the middle of a council meeting right now. Thank you. If you have a question, just come to the microphone. I understand, but we're in the middle of a council meeting, and it's not appropriate right now. After the meeting. Thank you. Okay.
The list that you were going to provide for us, some of us are going to leave, so where would we write that down?
I think Captain Roberts went to go get a pen and paper. Okay. Okay. So let's move to the adoption of the agenda. It is proposed by Councillor
Goldwax,
seconded by Councillor Schaefer. Resulting, the agenda of the regular council meeting is hereby adopted as presented. Anyone opposed?
No.
Approved. 4.0, adoption of the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 5th, 2024. It is proposed by Councillor Schaefer, seconded by Councillor Goldwax. Resulted, the minutes of the regular council meeting held on February 5th, 2024 is hereby approved as submitted. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 5.1. Tabling of the minutes of the regular PAC meeting held on February 12, 2024. Each member of the council, having received a copy of the town clerk tables the minutes of the regular planning advisory committee meeting held on February 12, 2024. The council takes note of the tabling of the said minutes by the town clerk. 5.2. All the interventions have already been brought forward. Request to authorize 7 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1201 for a detached multifamily dwelling located at 6201 Conseil Road, lot number 2089876, zone RC1. Zoning bylaw number 1001 and bylaw concerning minor exemptions number 1013. Sir, is this concerning 6201 Conseil Road?
Intervention of interested person as per document received in writing by the town clerk.
Yes.
Yes.
Go ahead, even intervention?
Yes, sir.
Go ahead.
I'm telling the council to not accept this derogation at all, especially adding parking spaces right in front of my residential. I've been a resident of Hampstead for, 20 years? In front of my residential bedroom and my kids' bedroom. As a property owner, we're directly affected by your decisions. And we believe it's essential to address the potential adverse impacts this modification could have on our property and quality of life. Should I go on?
Please, continue.
First of all, privacy concerns. The proximity of the parking space to my master bedroom and my kids' bedroom right there. Intrudes.
Sorry to interrupt, just so I have context. What's the address?
6211.
Okay.
A vehicle right in front of my bedroom, or 6 vehicles right in front of our kitchen will compromise my sense of security and personal space. Property devaluation. The visual and functional impact of a parking space next to my bedroom, my kids' bedroom, and the kitchen won't appeal to the market value of my property. Well, I'll put it in short. In light of these concerns, I urge the officials and the officials that should recuse themselves too, to reconsider the proposed derogation and explore alternative solutions if possible. Thank you.
Just have a question. You mentioned that should be some people that recuse themselves.
Oh, maybe I'm just saying things like that.
Oh.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you very much for the intervention. No. That's correct. Okay. So, considering that the members of council have reviewed the request for 7 minor exemptions in zoning bylaw 1001, Section 65 Schedule B to allow on the left side yard a setback of 4.51 meters instead of 6.85 meters. To Section 65 Schedule B to allow in the rear yard a setback of 9.16 meters instead of 10.67 meters. To Section 65 Schedule B to allow in the secondary front yard on Glenmore a setback of 4.66 meters instead of 6.1 meters. Section 65 Schedule B to allow in the front yard on Conseil Luke Road a setback of 4.13 meters instead of 5.2 meters. Section 122 and 123 to allow the sitting of 23 parking spaces instead of 51. Section 121 to allow the length of parallel parking at 6.75 meters instead of 7 meters. Section 118 to allow the access width of the vehicular access on Glenmore for the sitting of 2 parking places. Considering that the Planning Advisory Committee at its meeting held on February 12, 2024 didn't issue any recommendation for the request for the 7 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1001, it is proposed by council. Farber, seconded by Councillor Schaefer, and resolved that the request for the minor exemptions to zoning bylaw 1001 for the property located at 6201 Conseil Luke Road, lot number 2089876, zone RC1 is deferred. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 5.3. Request to authorize an addition in the front yard at the roof level with facade modifications for a detached multifamily dwelling located at 6201 Conseil Luke Road, lot number 209-876, zone RC1, zoning bylaw number 1001, and SPIP bylaw number 775. It is proposed by council. It is proposed by council. No council wants. We have to take a decision. We have to table it. Otherwise, it just doesn't get tabled. So it is proposed by council. Farber, second by councillor. Okay, so there's no councillor to second it. Goldwax. And resolve that the request to authorize an addition in the front yard at the roof level with facade modification for a detached multifamily located at 6201 and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on February 12, 2024 is deferred. The proposed project only partially meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001 and meets the prescribed standards of the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 5.4. Request to authorize a second floor addition for a detached single-family dwelling located at 5721 Queen Mary, lot number 2089454, zone RE1, zoning bylaw number 1001, and SPAIP bylaw number 775. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, second by Council Goldwax, and resolved that the request to authorize a second floor addition for a detached single-family dwelling located at 5721 Queen Mary and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on February 12, 2024 is refused as recommended by the PAC. The proposed project only partially meets the prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 1001 and doesn't meet the prescribed standards of the site planning architectural integration program number 775. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 5.5. Request to authorize 4 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1001 for a detached single-family dwelling located at 19 Heath, lot number 2089581, zone RA1. The zoning bylaw number 1001 and bylaw concerning minor exemption number 1013. Are there any interventions by interested parties? Please. And I just want to bring to attention, this minor exemption is to legalize an existing situation. So it's not
So that's the case I was saying is that, number one, I'm within my derogation and underneath my land occupation of 61% on 80, whatever. That said, they mentioned that the roof line doesn't integrate in the city. I took a picture and I added an aerial view of my what my roof line would look like, and about 10 other roof lines with the exact same roof as well. I'll show you.
Sure. 19 Heath. So this is the minor exemption that needs to get legalized because it's an existing situation. Sorry? The minor exemptions are for all 4. They're all existing. That's for legalization.
So I'm actually building my, no, I was just explaining.
No. So this project, there's two resolutions that we're going to be voting on now, or that you're going to be voting on now. The first is the minor exemption to legalize an existing situation. The second is an addition. That's the addition. Let's move forward with the first part. So, this is 5.5. Considering that the members of council have reviewed the request for 4 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1001, Section 65, Schedule B, to allow the front yard setback at Heath at 5.94 meters instead of 6.1 meters. To Section 65, Schedule B, to allow the secondary front yard setback at Northcote at 2.61 meters instead of 6.1 meters. Section 65, Schedule B, to allow the rear yard setback at 8.37 meters instead of 8.9 meters. Section 65, Schedule B, to allow the left side yard setback at 2.04 meters instead of 2.3 meters. Considering that the Planning Advisory Committee at its meeting held on February 12, 2024 recommended to refuse the request for the 4 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1001, it is proposed by Councillor Schaefer, seconded by Councillor Budning, and resolved that the request for the 4 minor exemptions to zoning bylaw number 1001 for the property located at 19 Heath, lot number 2089581, zone RA1 is accepted. Anyone is approved? Is anyone opposed? Adopted. So now, okay, so there's 2 parts of this. The first part has been approved. You're now legally within you legalized your existing situation. Now, the matter before us is to authorize an addition to the property. The addition does not require any minor exemptions. You're within your legal rights to apply for what you want. The issue is, and either Councillor Farber or Councillor Bunning, whoever's at the PAC meeting, maybe you can give light to this, has to deal with the architectural integration, or the SPIP, planning architectural program, to work with, I guess, maybe Mario Duchesne, who's our public director of urban planning, to fine-tune the project so that it better suits whatever the PAC was looking at. It's not an objective situation, it's a subjective situation. So we'll get there, but I guess it's a matter of what is the final project look like?
No, that's the thing I received. I received just refused, and the roof line does not integrate with the city. So. So, no, but just the answer.
Hang on, let me just finish.
The point being is that you have a very vertical facade, very large massing, and you're extremely close to the sidewalk. So your setbacks that are allowed present built on is not what the original property was.
A bungalow cottage.
So the issue is that the PAC at the time, last meeting, felt that the property was already much closer than it technically should be toward the sidewalk. It's a very tall massing, it's very close when you walk down the sidewalk. And filling in that gap that's going to be exposed, plus building the bay area across 3 floors and going even closer to the sidewalk is further going to.
So that's what my problem is that it's very subjective, and what you're saying, number one, I'm building maybe basically within my line because of the way my house works. And in answering to what you're saying,
it's all within the zoning bylaw. What you're proposing.
No, but I'm talking about the subjective point of view now. Is that I agree with what you're saying. I find that my house is very vertical and very narrow. By building this mass on the right side, it creates a little bit more width, and it makes the house. It takes away from the longevity of the house and adds an actual symmetry on the.
I would agree with you if you're standing looking at it from here.
Yeah.
The problem is that the Northcote, with the massing of your house is and the length of it, it's very tall, it's very flat, and it's very close to the sidewalk.
But by creating that, it takes away the flatness, and that was the idea behind what I'm doing. Because essentially, when I originally proposed my plan in 2017, it was to put my front door on Northcote, which was refused. So that would have been the most sensible thing because then I had the length of my house and a center door. So in working with what I have, I actually copied a similar home, the Kohler residence on, I don't know the address is there, on Heath, that has the rounded side on the side of his home, and I basically took a picture of that, sent it to my architect, and said, can you replicate this? And I used the Stern house on Lincroft as well, which both have the exact same look. Unfortunately, for me, my house is exposed on the right side. Now, in going with Mr. Registrar, I could add some cedars or whatever to hide some stuff, but at the end of the day, I'm stuck with the house I have, and the only place I can extend, the reason why I'm doing it is because I have a fourth child coming and I have no space anymore, is there. And that's the spot of my house that actually kicks in. By kicking it out, it actually creates the proper dimension and should have been done in the first place, realistically.
So, as the mayor said, this point is subjective in nature. It's not about whether you fit into zoning or not, because you legalize these issues. The PAC has full latitude in terms of subjectivity. Like, if you go to Westmount, they'll reject it. They don't.
Trust me, I've done projects there.
So, we're at this point now where the PAC didn't like your proposal. They felt that your house is going to be extremely large and close to the sidewalk, and so they made further proposal. At this point, I think it's just up to you to work with Mario and the PAC.
I agree with my question is, if the problem with my house that you're saying with my proposal is that it's protruding out too much, that's the part that I need. I need that excess. But no matter if I make it square, triangle, rectangle, or anything, it's always going to come out. That's what I need. If I come in line, then it doesn't do anything.
How many times has this gone to PAC?
Once.
Okay. If I can make a suggestion, tomorrow, because your house is now in legal conformity. Whatever you're passing is within your legal rights to do. It's a subjective matter. I would suggest reaching out to Mario, because there are ways to do what you want to do, which the PAC or Mario can give suggestions to not make it appear as imposing, but still gain what you want to do.
I would disagree with you from just resubmitting your project saying you rejected the other one.
Well, I'm not going to waste my time and yours. That was just
No.
you know?
I would say before you submit anything, have your architect call Mario. You guys could even meet and discuss something, because maybe if you brainstorm between the three of you, you'll get some commentary back from Mario on what didn't work. At the same time, you might come up with a solution. Mario might come up with a solution, or it might be brought to PAC to come up with a solution on how to make it less imposing, but still get what you want to get.
Okay.
That'll work. I'm confident that if you work with Mario, you're going to get what you want.
Okay, very well, thanks.
Okay, request to authorize an addition of a detached single-family dwelling located at 19 Heath, lot number 239581, zone RA1 zoning, bylaw number 1001, SPIP, bylaw number 775. It is proposed by Councillor. Yeah. So I need a councillor to propose that. Schaefer. Seconded by Councillor Farber. Resolved that the request to authorize an addition of a detached single-family dwelling located at 19 Heath and submitted to the Planning Advisory Committee meeting on February 12, 2024 is deferred. Contradiction to the recommendation by the PAC, they recommended to refuse it. We're authorizing to defer it. The proposed project only partially meets prescribed standards of the zoning bylaw number 001, doesn't meet the prescribed standards of the site planning and architectural integration program bylaw number 775. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 5.7, nomination of a new member of the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of Hampstead. Whereas Mr. Edmund Maresco, by email dated February 13, 2024, formally submitted his resignation from his position on the Urban Planning Advisory Committee meeting with immediate effect, whereas the Planning Advisory Committee of the Town of Hampstead is a fully empty spot, whereas the Planning Advisory Committee has unanimously recommended that we accept the application of Mr. Gabriel Cacon, architect residing at 117 Finchley in Hampstead. It is proposed by Councillor Budning, seconded by Councillor Schaefer. Resolved to approve the application of Mr. Gabriel Cacon as a new member of the Hampstead PAC. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 6.1, claim for liquidated damages to 937791155 Quebec Inc. following the sale of lot number 5930798 of the Quebec Cadastre. Whereas the town issued a call for the proposal for the sale and development of lot 5930798 located at McDonald Avenue in Hampstead, whereas on August 25th, 2021, the town received a purchase offer from 9377-9155 Quebec Inc. in response to the tender call. Whereas the council accepted this offer by council resolution number 2021342 on August 30th, 2021. Whereas 9377-9155 Quebec Inc. assigned its rights to acquire the property from 9447-775 Quebec Inc. Whereas town consented to this assignment by resolution number 2021-430 on December 6, 2021. Whereas on August 20, 2022, the town sold lot number 5930788 to the company 9377955 Quebec Inc. Whereas in the deed of sale 9377955 Quebec Inc. accepted the terms of the preliminary contract dated August 17, 2021, which notably includes a liquidated damages clause in case the buyer fails to commence the works within 24 months from the date of signing the deed of sale. Whereas the town, through its lawyers, reminded 9377955 Quebec Inc. of its commitment to commence the works before the expiration of this deadline in a letter served on December 6, 2023. Whereas despite this reminder, the works have not commenced within 24 months from the signing of the deed of sale. Whereas, subject to the town's right of resolution without limiting its scope or the scope of other guarantees given to the town, this default gives rise to the town's claim for liquidated damages of $100,000. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, seconded by Council Budding. Resolved, the town observes that 9377955 Quebec Inc. has failed to commence the work on lot number 5930788 of the Quebec Cadastre within 24 months from the date of signing the deed of sale. That the town demands from 9377955 Quebec Inc. the payment of the sum of $100,000 as liquidated damages. That the law firm Belanger Sauvé be authorized to serve a notice of default to 9377955 Quebec Inc. in accordance with the terms of the deed of sale and to undertake all necessary steps and procedures to obtain payment. Anyone opposed? Adopted. Absolutely. Thank you, Councillor Schaefer. 7.1, adoption of bylaw number 101024, modifying the Tyrus bylaw number 1010 regarding urban planning and building inspections department. Whereas the members of council received a copy of bylaw number 101024, modifying the Tyrus bylaw number 1010 regarding the urban planning and building inspections department, declared to have read it. It is proposed by Councillor Farber, second by Councillor Budding. Resolved to approve bylaw number 101024, modifying the Tyrus bylaw number 1010 regarding urban planning and building inspections department. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 7.2, adoption of bylaw number 1001-16, modifying zoning bylaw number 1001. Whereas the members of council received a copy of bylaw number 1001-16, modifying zoning bylaw number 1001, and declared to have read it. It is proposed by Councillor Fassi, second by Councillor Goldwax. And resolved to approve bylaw number 1001-16, modifying zoning bylaw number 1001. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.1, approval of the disbursements for the month of February 2024. Considering that council reviewed the list of payments for the month of February 2024, it is proposed by Councillor Schaefer, seconded by Councillor Elfassi. Resolved that disbursements for the period from January 16, 2024 to February 15, 2024 in the total amount of $1,636,988.20 are hereby approved. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.2, transfer funds from unappropriated surplus to finance capital expenses not covered by the 2023 operational budget. It is proposed by Councillor Elfassi, seconded by Councillor Schaefer. Resolved that the Town Council approves the transfer funds as further detailed in the following table in the amount of $278,203 from unappropriated surplus GL 55991-00000 to finance capital expenses not covered under the 2023 operational budget. Campaign lead pipes, $278,903. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.3, transfer funds from appropriated surplus as detailed in the following table to cover expenses incurred in the 2023 fiscal period. It is proposed by Council Farber, seconded by Council Elfassi. Resolved, the Town Council approves the transfer funds as further detailed in the following table for an amount of $2,499,275 from the appropriated surplus account 559920001 to 00-000 to cover expenses reported in the 2023 fiscal period. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.4, transfer funds from unappropriated surplus to finance 2024 capital expense projects not covered in the current operational budget, for which some expenses can be recorded in the subsequent fiscal period. It is proposed by Councillor Elfassi, second by Councillor Goldwax. Resolved, the Town Council approves the transfer of funds as further detailed in the following table in the amount of $3,178,600 from unappropriated surplus to appropriated surplus account 55992-00-000 as well as 55-996-00-000. Municipal elections, $25,000. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.5, transfer funds from appropriated surplus to cover capital expenses redirected to an alternate project and used to cover expenses incurred in the 2023 fiscal period. Whereas the resolutions noted in the following table authorize the surplus appropriation to finance capital expenses not covered in the current operational budget and for which some expenses can be recorded in the subsequent fiscal period. It is proposed by Councillor Elfassi, second by Councillor Goldax, resolved the Town Council approves the modification from the appropriated surplus account 55-992-0000. It's further detailed in the following table with the funds to become applicable to an alternate project for an amount of $200,534. That the Town Council approves the transfer funds as further detailed in the following table for an amount of $200,534 from appropriated surplus account 55-992-0000. Cover expenses recorded in the 2023 fiscal period. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.6. Modification of the resolution concerning funds reserved to finance capital expenses authorized in our previous triennial programs. Whereas resolution number 2020-188 noted in the following table authorizes surplus appropriation to finance capital expenses not covered in the current operational budget and for which some expenses can be recorded in the subsequent fiscal period. Whereas the costs related to these appropriations were fully accounted for balances appropriated and are no longer required due to contract and project finalization, the reserves detailed in the following table are no longer required. It is proposed by Council Goldax, seconded by Council Alfasser, resolved that the Town Council approves the transfer of funds in the amount of $1,715,930 from appropriated surplus GL account 55-992-0000 back into the town's unappropriated surplus account. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 8.7. Transfer funds from unappropriated surplus to finance expenses not covered by the 2024 operational budget. It is proposed by Council Alfasser, seconded by Council Budning, and resolved that the Town Council approves the transfer of $119,098.11 as further detailed in the following table from unappropriated surplus GL number 55-991.00.00. Finance reimbursement of the amounts in the Canadian bank for the employer number.
Not the right amount. That's not the updated one, Mr. Mayor. Sorry.
Okay, so we're going to defer this? Okay. 8.8. Resolution appointing the treasurer as the authorized representative for Click Secure, whereas the town of Hampstead, the town must register with the files of Revenue Quebec and the Click Secure entreprise services. Whereas the town's registration in dossier for Revenue Quebec businesses is necessary and it is imperative to take all useful necessary measures for this purpose. Whereas the town's treasurer is the qualified person to fulfill the roles and responsibilities of the electronic services manner described in terms of use of Mon dossier for businesses. Whereas the treasurer is also capable of granting authorization or proxy to town users to access and act on behalf of the town in the context of Mon dossier for Revenue Quebec businesses. Whereas the treasurer must have the power to consult the town's file and act on behalf and for the account of the town for all past, current, and future tax periods. Whereas the treasurer must be authorized to participate in any negotiation with Revenue Quebec regarding all information that Revenue Quebec holds about the business for the application or enforcement of tax laws, excise tax laws, and laws facilitating child support payments. It is proposed by Councillor Schaefer, second by Councillor Alfasser, resolved the town's treasurer is designated as authorized representative for Click Secure to act on behalf of the town of Hampstead. Anyone opposed? 9.1. Renewal of contract for the street trimming, clearing, and felling. Whereas there has been a public call for tenders for a 2-year contract from April 15, 2021 to April 14, 2023 for the trimming, clearing, and felling of trees, including 3 renewal options of 1 year each. Whereas after analyzing the tenders open on March 16, 2021, the lowest bidder conforming the requirements of the tender invitation was Arbo Design Inc. Whereas by resolution number 2021-125 adopted by the Council in April 2021, authorized granting a 2-year contract to the lowest bidder conforming to the requirements of the period of April 15, 2021 to April 14, 2023. Whereas by resolution number 2023-086 adopted by the Council in March 2023, authorized granting the first renewal option to the lowest bidder conforming to the requirements of the period of April 15, 2023 to April 14, 2024. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, second by Council Alfasser, resolved the contract with Arbo Design Inc. for the trimming, clearing, and felling of trees be renewed for the second optional renewal for the period of April 15, 2024 to April 14, 2025. The price is outlined below. That based on average quantity of hours worked in the 2-year contract and the first renewal option, the estimated cost for the 1-year renewal option is $173,500. Taxes included. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.2. Renewal of contract for the marking of street lines. Whereas there's been a call for tenders by way of written invitation for a 1-year contract, including renewal option for another year for the marking of street lines. Whereas after analyzing the tenders open on January 19, 2023, the lowest bidder conforming to the requirement of the tender invitation was Solution Marquage en Ligne 9181-5084 Quebec Inc. Whereas by resolution number 2023-044 adopted in February 2023, the Council awarded the 1-year contract to the lowest conforming bidder. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, second by Council Alfasser, resolved the contract with Solution Marquage en Ligne for the marking of street lines be renewed for the renewal option stipulated in the contract until 2024. That the rates paid to the contractor during the year 2023 be adjusted for the optional renewal according to the rate of the CPI for 2023 for the Montreal region, which is 4.2%, and the estimated amount of expenditure for 2024 is $49,600, taxes included. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.3. Renewal of contract for the cleaning of catch basins, whereas there has been a call for tenders by way of written invitation for a 2-year contract for the cleaning of catch basins, including a clause for 2 renewal options of 1 year each, whereas after analyzing the tenders opened on February 8, 2022, the lowest bidder conforming to the requirements of the tender invitation was 936398880 Quebec Inc., Sanivac. Whereas by resolution number 2022-055 adopted in February 2022, Council awarded the 2-year contract to the lowest conforming bidder. It is proposed by Councilor Schaefer, second by Councilor Elfasser, resolved the contract with 9363988 Quebec Inc. Sanivac for the cleaning of catch basins be renewed for the first of the 2 renewal options 2024. That the price paid during the last contractual year be adjusted according to the 2023 CPI rate for the Montreal region, 4.2%. That the estimated amount of the expenditure for 2024 is $17,200, tax included. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.4. Contract for supply of crushed stones, whereas there was a public call for a 3-year contract for the supply of crushed stones, whereas after analyzing the tenders opened on February 6, 2024, the lowest bidder conforming to the requirements of the tender is Meloche Division de Sintra Inc. It is proposed by Councilor Elfasser, seconded by Councilor Schaefer, resolved that the 3-year contract for the supply of crushed stones for the period of March 15, 2024 to March 14, 2027 be awarded to the lowest conforming bidder at the price outlined below. That based on the frequency of orders placed in the previous years, the estimated amount of expenditure for the 3-year contract is $132,000, taxes included. GST, QST, and Quebec royalty for quarry and sandpit operators applicable to the above prices. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.5. Granting of contract for the supply of asphalt for the year 2024. Whereas there's been a call for tenders by way of written invitation for the supply of asphalt for the year 2024, whereas after analyzed tenders opened on February 7, 2024, the lowest bidder conforming to the requirements of the tender invitation is the Construction DJL Inc. It is proposed by Councilor Elfasser, seconded by Councilor Schaefer, and resolved that the contract for the supply of asphalt for the year 2024 be awarded the following contract with the following costs. That according to the frequency of orders placed during previous years and project needs for 2024, the estimated amount of expenditures is $30,550, taxes included. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.6. Authorization for the sale of obsolete equipment, whereas the town wishes to dispose of equipment that are no longer necessary for the municipality, is proposed by Councilor Budning, second by Councilor Elfasser, resolved the Director of Purchasing with the approval of the Director General is authorized to sell the items listed below at the best possible price. 2 printers Lexmark T630, 1 printer HP 1320TN. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.7. Granting contract for replacement of windows, whereas there was a price request from 2 suppliers for the replacement of 9 windows in the town's building of 10 Cleve. Whereas the supplier royalty Porte de Fenêtre is the one who submitted the lowest price. It is proposed by Councilor Where do you see that on the resolution? Okay. It is proposed by Councilor Elfasser, second by Councilor Schaefer, and resolved that the contract for the replacement of 9 windows in the town's building of 10 Cleve be awarded to Royalty Porte de Fenêtre at a cost of $13,485.19, taxes included. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.8. Granting of contract for the opening, maintenance, and closing. Thank you. Granting of contract for the opening, maintenance, and closing of the pools for the 2024 season. Whereas the Director of Community Services and Recreation by interim and Section Manager Leisure, Adults 55 Plus, recommended the awarding of the contract for the opening, maintenance, and closing of the pools for the 2024 season at PSAP Group Inc. Whereas the services provided by the supplier have always been excellent and they know very well the usual operation of the town's pools. It is proposed by Councilor Elfasser, seconded by Councilor Golaks, and resolved that the contract for the opening, maintenance, and closing of the pools for the 2024 season be awarded to PSPA Group Inc. That according to the cost of this contract for the previous years, the estimated amount of expenditure is $32,500 plus taxes. The Treasury Certificate number 24-11 dated 22/02/2024 attests the availability of funds to cover the described expense. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.9. Granting of contract for the purchase of a tire machine. Whereas there was a price request from 2 suppliers for the purchase of a Giuliano Automobile brand tire machine, model S228 Pro Duo. Whereas the lowest bid is from the supplier PS Auto Jari Inc. It is proposed by Councilor Farber, second by Councilor Elfasser, and resolved that the contract for the purchase of a Giuliano Automotive brand tire machine model S228 Pro Duo will be awarded to PS Auto Jari Inc. at a cost of $11,386 plus taxes. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 9.10, granted contract to purchase of computers. I think it's a record for the number of contracts we're granting tonight. Whereas the Director of Information and Security recommends the purchase of 14 computers, whereas the town is registered under the contract 2022-0588-01, the Centre des Acquisitions Gouvernementales du Québec, consequently has access to the advantageous prices of this grouping. It is proposed by Councilor Alfasi, seconded by Councilor Goldwax. Result of the 14 computers described below be purchased from one of the suppliers registered in the contract 2022-0588-01 of the Centre des Acquisitions Gouvernementales du Québec, $14,739.91. GST and QST are applicable on above prices. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.1. Approval of renewal of group insurance contract for the year 2024-2025. Whereas the town of Hampstead confirmed its membership to UMQ Solution in order to acquire the services of group insurance for its employees and to the contract which was awarded to Beneva following the public call for tenders. Whereas the contract award is for a maximum duration of 5 years beginning on April 1st, 2024. Whereas the current contract with the insurer is in its first year for a maximum duration of 5 years. Whereas Groupe Mallet Exterieur Inc. recommends acceptance of the rates proposed by the insurer Beneva for the period of April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025. It is proposed by Councilor Goldwax, seconded by Councilor Schaefer. Resolved that the conditions for the renewal of the group insurance contract proposed by the insurer Beneva for the period of April 1st, 2024 to March 31st, 2025 for an amount not exceeding $242,240, including taxes, are approved by the Town Council. That the Director General is authorized to sign on behalf of the Town of Hampstead all documents required for the above purposes. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.2. Approval of the reimbursement of the amounts of the accumulated banks for the employee number 1066. Is this related to the previous one? Is this number good? Whereas Town of Hampstead must reimburse the sums in the accumulated banks of hours as of January 15, 2024, all according to the policies in force. It is proposed by Councilor Alfasi, seconded by Councilor Schaefer, and resolved to approve the reimbursement of the amounts in the accumulated banks of employee number 1066 as follows, for a total of $71,869.69. The Treasurer's Certificate number 24-10 dated 20/02/2024 attests the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. Anyone opposed? Adopted. Is this the same amount as the previous resolution? Okay. Fine. 10.3. Approval of the hiring list of white-collar student employees for the Community Services and Recreation Department. Consider that council members review the list submitted by the Interim Director of Community Services and Recreation February 13, 2024 regarding the hiring of white-collar student employees. It is proposed by Councilor Budning, second by Councilor Alfasi. Resolved the Town Council approves the hiring of white-collar student employees as detailed in the list from the Community Services and Recreation Department. The hiring is subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between Cube Local 49 and the Town of Hampstead. That the Treasurer's Certificate number 2406 dated 20/02/2024 attests the availability of funds to cover the described expense. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.4. Approval of hiring Ms. Vivian Garcia as a temporary accounts payable office clerk. Consider the Town of Hampstead requires the hiring of a temporary accounts payable office clerk, salary grade 6 for a period not exceeding 6 months. Considering that the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director are recommending the hiring of Ms. Vivian Garcia to fill such position. Considering that resolution number 2006-344 delegates jointly to the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director the authority to hire temporary management staff and temporary employees for a term not exceeding 520 hours. Considering that Ms. Vivian Garcia has begun her assignment on February 15, 2024, it is proposed by Councilor Goldwax, second by Councilor Alfasi, resolved to approve the hiring of Ms. Vivian Garcia as a temporary accounts payables office clerk subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between Cube Local 49 and the Town of Hampstead. At Treasurer's Certificate number 240820 dated 20/02/2024 attests the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.5. Approval of hiring Mr. Alisan Telioglu Artisan as a temporary public security officer. The Town of Hampstead requires the hiring of a temporary public security officer, salary grade 8. Considering that the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director recommend the hiring of Mr. Alisan Telioglu Artisan to fill such position. Resolution number 2006-344 delegates jointly to the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director the authority to hire temporary management staff and temporary employees for a term not exceeding 520 hours. Considering that Mr. Alisan Telioglu Artisan has begun his assignment February 12, 2024, it is proposed by Councilor Goldwax, second by Councilor Schaefer, and resolved to approve the hiring of Mr. Alisan Telioglu Artisan as a temporary public security officer, subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between Cube Local 49 and the Town of Hampstead. that the treasurer's certificates number 2407 dated 20/02/2024 test the availability of funds to cover described expenses. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.6, approval of hiring of Mr. Gregory Flynn as temporary public security officer. Considering that the town of Hampstead requires the hiring of a temporary public security officer salary grade 8, considering that the Director General and the Human Resource Director recommend the hiring of Mr. Gregory Flynn to fill such position. Considering that resolution number 2006-344 delegates to the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director the authority to hire temporary management staff and temporary employees for a term not exceeding 520 hours. Considering that Mr. Gregory Flynn has begun his assignment February 28th, 2024. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, second by Council Goldwax, and resolved to approve the hiring of Mr. Gregory Flynn as a temporary public security officer subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between Cube Local 49 and the town of Hampstead. That treasurer's certificate number 24-07 dated 20/02/2024 tests the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. Anyone opposed? Adopted. 10.7. Approval of hiring of Ms. Beatrice Gagnon as temporary office clerk for Community Services and Recreation. Considering the town of Hampstead requires the hiring of a temporary office clerk for Community Services and Recreation, salary grade 6 for a period not exceeding 6 months. Considering that the Interim Director General and the Human Resource Director recommended the hiring of Ms. Beatrice Gagnon to fill such position. It is proposed by Council Schaefer, second by Council Alfazar, resolved to approve the hiring of Ms. Beatrice Gagnon as a temporary office clerk for Community Services and Recreation, subject to the usual conditions in accordance with the provisions of the collective agreement between Cube Local 49 and the town of Hampstead. That the treasurer's certificate number 2409 dated 20/02/2024 attests the availability of funds to cover the described expenses. Anyone opposed? Adopted. Any other business that council would like to table? Okay. We'll move to second question period. Any other questions? Okay. We'll move to adjournment. The agenda having been completed. It is proposed by Councilor Schaefer, second by Councilor Goldwax. Recall that this council meeting be adjourned at 9:36 p.m. Thank you very much, everybody, for coming. See you next month.